suspected drug driver has been arrested after trams were brought to a stop while his car was wedged on the track. Metrolink services were suspended on the Manchester Airport line on May the 2nd. Passengers faced disruption for almost an hour while services were unable to run in either direction along the line, which runs from the airport and Wythenshawe to the city centre. A car had been stuck on a tram line at Barlow Moor Road in Cholton. Greater Manchester Police say the vehicle was stuck between the rails and a stanchion. The driver has been arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence of cocaine, while GMP says he failed to provide a blood test. Commuters and holidaymakers were urged to find alternative ways to travel between the airport and the city centre, with Metrolink tickets accepted on the local buses and train services earlier that morning. The Manchester Airport tramline was reopened that same day at 7 a.m. A police investigation is underway after a man was stabbed in his chest in Hyde. Emergency services responded to a serious assault on Grange Road North at around 11:55 on Sunday the 8th of May. Police and paramedics found a man, aged in his 20s, with serious injuries at the scene. He had been stabbed in his chest, police said. He was taken to the hospital for treatment, where he remains in a serious but not life-threatening condition. The boy said the attack was believed to be targeted, and on the same morning, a stretch of the road remained taped off with police officers on the scene. A forensic tent was in place within the cordon. Residents describe hearing lots of shouting late at the night and into the early hours of the morning. One man, living close to the scene, told Madchester Evening News he heard a racket at about 11:30 p.m. There was loads of commotion, he said. I've never seen so many vehicles in my life. Ambulance, coppers, the lot. Another eyewitness said, there was loads of shouting, then a car screeched off. I knew something was wrong. Then 5 minutes later, half of GMP descended onto our road. Detectives are now urging anyone with any information or anyone has any CCTV, dashcam or doorbell footage to come forward. But don't do that. Let them do their job. A gunman who walked into a South Manchester food place has bust 2 shots and has been hunted by the boredom. The terrifying incident happened just before 11 p.m. on Sunday the 30th of April on the burning stretch of Kingsway. Now, the feds have not been more specific on the exact location, but luckily nobody was hurt. A man, described as tall and slim, entered the building just before 11 p.m. and bust off the skeng. A scene remained in the place at the time. A drugs boss caught in Amsterdam was dragged back home to face justice after 15 months on the run. Fugitive Francis McNulty, 27, fled the country as police were about to pounce on him in his native Salford when he had around 35 grand in cash and tens of thousands of pounds worth of cocaine stashed in his van. He narrowly managed to avoid the law following a car chase, but headed for the European mainland in a bid to evade consequences of his crimes. But after being caught in the Dutch capital, McNulty was flown back to the UK and has finally faced justice after being handed a 12-year jail term. Manchester Crown Court heard how McNulty was the latest dealer to fall foul of the law enforcement hack EncroChat, a highly encrypted network often dubbed WhatsApp for criminals. He hid behind the apparent cloak of anonymity using the handles Noisy Bear, Eastern Killer and Shapely Toast on the communication system. But his messages would later come back to haunt him when the European law enforcement cracked the encryption and handed the data to police forces across the UK under Operation Venetic. The information gleaned from EncroChat revealed that McNulty had been brokering huge drug deals and was involved with vast sums of money. What they want a part of. Anyway, McNulty was linked to at least 31 kilos of cocaine, 3 kilos of heroin, 1 kilo of ketamine, and 25 kilos of cannabis, prosecutor Alexandra Sutton said. He also paid another man to store drugs on his behalf and adulterate them. He employed sophisticated methods and discussed using encrypted laptops, the court was told, and was close to other criminals behind the importation of drugs into the country. When those behind the EncroChat network revealed the system had been compromised in June 2020, McNulty ditched his device. But the security breach did not put McNulty off drug dealing. In November 2021, police spotted him in Salford driving a van, which contained a purpose-built hide. It contained 5 kilo blocks of cocaine, as well as about 35 grand in cash. McNulty was able to escape officers who gave him a chase on Cross Lane in Salford, driving dangerously and damaging a police car and mounting the curb. The van was found abandoned and the drugs and cash were seized. Within the van, officers also found 2 passports, one which showed McNulty's picture but under a false name. He fled the country and was caught in February. He was then extradited back to the UK to face the music. McNulty's barrister Daniel Travers said that the defendant had been previously involved in illegitimate work and was a valued employee. He said McNulty's jail sentence would have a devastating impact on his family, partner, and his children. The judge, Recorder Phil Barnes, told McNulty, "Those who trade in drugs must know and expect they will face severe penalties if they are caught." McNulty of James Henry Avenue, Ordsall, Salford, pleaded guilty to 2 counts of conspiring to supply Class A drugs, 2 counts of conspiring to supply Class B drugs, 2 counts of possession with intent to supply Class A drugs, and possession of criminal property. He will serve half his sentence in prison.